Gomorrah, a system scarred by the ravages of war from the Halifax Prime campaign. Last week, the ISS Necro made its daring escape from the dreaded Ork Marauders' ambush as they fled back towards Battle Station Orion. A mighty Battle Brothers warship has been dispatched to the sector to help fend off this Orkish attack. In the outskirts of Battle Station Orion, the mighty Battle Brother warship Phalanx Prime has just entered the system, preparing to face off against a dreaded Marauder warship, the mighty Morka. The battle opened with the ISS Fighter Squadron soaring across the void towards the Ork coast, along with a bomber squadron following up shortly in the rear. Wasting no time, the Marauder squadrons pounced upon their attackers, and in a deadly dogfight, they immediately knock out one of the ISS squadrons from the battle space before they could do much damage to the rest of the fleet. Meanwhile, the Ork bombers begin their long, treacherous route towards the battle station. The Battle Brothers support squadrons thunder forward, eager to catch up the rest of their brothers stuck in the action, and the second and third Ork bomber squadrons form up into their attack runs as they near ever closer to Orion. The rear HDF bomber squadrons soar up alongside the rest of the fighters as they make their own way towards the oncoming Ork vessels, whilst the one on the left engages in a bitter dogfight against the Ork bomber, its laser fire missing entirely. Seeing this, the Ork fighter squadron screams across the open void and slams directly into the HDF bomber squadron, but that too also fails to land a decisive blow. Moving up to support his struggling ally, another Ork fighter squadron soars in. This time its lasers rip apart the bomber, scattering debris across the stars. The Ork gunship unit screams forward to support the bombers whilst they make their assault on the Orion battle station, and the small attack craft of the HDF forms up alongside, powers up its forward laser cannons, and discharges a heavy volley against the Ork crusher ship in the distance, landing 2 successful hits, completely shattering its missile batteries on the front of the starship. The crusher then moves forward and unloads everything it has, but its shot fails to penetrate through the small corvette's frontal shields. The ISS Necro powers up its forward missile batteries and unloads a barrage of missiles into the oncoming swarm of fighters and the gunships, scoring 3 successful hits, shattering apart the forward 2 bombers and decimating the gunship in return. The Ork border ship runs forward, seeking to dock on Battle Station Orion. The HDF principal ship soars up behind, eager to support the forward units. The massive Ork warhawk, the mighty Morka, trundles forward through the void. In response to this, the Battle Brothers flagship, the Phalanx Prime, trundles forward as well, eager to meet the mighty Ork war machines in battle. Meanwhile, on the battle station Orion, the defense lasers tear apart an incoming Ork squadron, completely nullifying the Ork bomber threat as turn 1 comes to a bloody end. Now the battle is just heating up, and there are many Ork war machines still left on the field, and both sides are closing in fast. The Ork fighter squadron soars across the void and engages the HDF bomber squadron in a bitter dogfight, absolutely annihilating it from the sky with a barrage of laser fire. Another Ork squadron soars up in order to intercept the oncoming HDF squadron, but the HDF beat them to the punch, but the laser fire beams wide of the oncoming Ork ship. Another HDF fighter squadron swoops in, banking hard to the left, and knocks out the Ork enemy. The final Ork fighter squadron flies up in order to support in the oncoming turns. Meanwhile, a HDF bomber makes its first attack run against the Ork stomper ship, scoring a direct hit, inflicting a single wound, and the ship soars forward, unloading a side barrage against both of the fighters, blasting them from the sky in short order. The ISS Necro powers up its rear thrusters and soars across the open void, positioning itself with its side batteries to deliver a devastating broadside against the Ork crusher ship. With a devastating laser cannon shot, it manages to inflict another wound against the Ork's weapon batteries, knocking them out of the fight. The Ork border ship rushes forward and lines up its forward laser cannons against the ISS Necro, managing to land a devastating hit which inflicts 2 wounds against the HDF vessel. The ISS Principe continues its slow advance towards the rest of the Ork fleet. However, now its forward laser cannons are in range, it delivers a devastating payload against the Ork crusher ship, annihilating it completely, and it implodes violently amongst the stars. The HDF corvette continues to harass the oncoming Ork vessels, and its forward laser turrets fail to shoot down the oncoming Ork fighter. The massive battle brother warship, the Phalanx Prime, finally reaches its long range against the oncoming Ork threat and powers up its forward laser cannon banks, but its first shot glances harmlessly across the bow of the Ork border ship. The Jolly Morker then moves up into firing range and unleashes a heavy laser cannon round at the ISS Necro, severely damaging its forward missile banks. Its turrets then unleash a barrage of hits, scoring another shot against the ISS weapons and the outer bulkheads of the Orion battle station. As turn 2 comes to a decisive end, the rear elements of the HDF and the Battle Brothers war fleets are slowly reaching targeting range of the rest of the Ork vessels. Turn 3 begins with a HDF bomber squadron lining up a shot against the Ork border ship, but its heavy beam attack misses entirely. Not wasting a chance, the Ork fighter squadron swoops in behind, but also fails to knock out the bomber squadron. Throwing all caution to the wind, another Ork fighter squadron enters the fight, and finally its lasers strike true, knocking out the HDF bomber squadron. The HDF corvette pulls alongside the fighter squadrons and unleashes a devastating barrage of its turrets, managing to knock down one of the Ork fighters in the process. Meanwhile, the border vessel banks hard around the fighter squadron and lines up a devastating laser cannon hit, which punches another hole in the outer defenses of Orion. The border's turrets then unleash a volley at the ISS Necro, however its powerful shielding prevent any rounds from successfully getting through. It then attempts to deliver a broadside against the HDF's corvette, however its shielding is also too strong for this attack. The ISS Necro breaks off from its defensive position around Orion with its laser turrets blasting apart an Ork fighter squadron. The Mighty Morker moves up and attempts to split fire into both the ISS Necro and the Orion battle station. However, only its forward attack is able to punch a decisive hole into the opposing vessel in the region and completely missing the ISS Necro response. The Orion's defensive laser cannons return fire at the Mighty Morker, but fail to break through the Ork's imposing shielding. The HDF Principe ship moves up to support the ongoing firefight just outside of the battle station. However, its powerful broadside attack and laser turrets fail to find their mark through the crude Ork shielding. And just behind them, the mighty battle brother starship Phalanx Prime moves up, cresting the horizon of Orion, preparing to face down against the Mighty Morker as we enter the final turn. The small HDF corvette repositions with its forward laser cannons opening fire at the border ship as it attempts to dock with Orion. However, this attack sails harmlessly past the ship, unable to land a decisive hit against the vessel. The Ork border ship moves into docking position alongside Orion as it attempts to deliver a devastating beam attack against the rear flank of the Principe ship, but this attack goes wide. However, its laser turrets find their mark and score a hit against the warship. Maneuvering out of boarding range from the Ork border ship, Principe ship lines up a devastating broadside with its laser turrets and is able to inflict a single wound against the Ork vessel. However, its much smaller laser turrets are unable to penetrate the Ork shielding, leaving the ship unharmed. Meanwhile, the ISS Necro pivots away from the Mighty Morker and unloads a devastating volley with its rear laser cannon, scoring a decisive hit and smashing apart the rear attack guns on the Ork vessel. The Mighty Morker creeps ever forward towards Orion, preparing to deliver a decisive boarding action, and the ship opens fire with everything it has. However, the ISS Necro's shielding barely holds off the devastating Ork broadside attack. With the battle entering its finale, the Battle Brothers warship Phalanx Prime and the mighty Morka would clash with one another, delivering devastating laser rounds as broadsides were exchanged between the two massive vessels. But with the HDF and the Battle Brothers unable to land a decisive blow, leaving both massive warships floating in the void. And as the battle came to its bloody conclusion, the Ork boarding vessels made a successful docking attack against the battle station Orion, bringing the first part of this battle to an uncertain conclusion. Now, the Ork assault fleet has been heavily mauled, but reports are coming in thick and fast across all of Orion, as Ork boarding teams are butchering their way through any of the Imperial defenders that they find, and it is only a matter of time before the station is overrun. Join us next week as we dive inside Battle Station Orion to get up close and personal with the carnage that is yet to come.